Welcome to Shooting the Bull.
Where else you get your podcast. So if you like what we're doing, please give us a 5-star review and subscribe to the page. So then you can help us launch and do bigger and better things coming in 2025. All right. I want to remind everybody who are watching us live, you can comment and leave some questions in the chat, and you might be a part of the show later on. All right. We are going to spend the evening tonight looking back at the Continental Cup that just took place in Philadelphia, as well as look back at the 2024 Championship Darts Circuit. All right. So let me bring in my contributors for this evening. First up, a guy that was sat next to me. We got into a bunch of good shenanigans in Philadelphia. The play-by-play man of the CDC, Mr. Sean Green. There's our man right there.
Hey, it's great
Sean.
to be here.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Then we're our real pleasure to be joined by a multiple Continental Cup finalist, a cross-border finalist, a Continental Cup finalist, part of the Players Council, Mr. No Name Doug Boehm.
The cavalry has arrived.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Welcome in there, Doug. I did get that incorrect. Doug is a Continental Cup runner-up, not a cross-border yet. When we see Dougie in the cross-border final, you bet your sweet Bippy he's going home with the trophy.
Let's make it 2025.
We've got a date, everybody. Don't tell the bookies. Thank you very much for joining us, Doug. And Sean, thanks for joining us again. So, as we said, we're going to look back at the Continental Cup, but at first we want to talk to Doug. Welcome Doug in and get to know Doug a little bit. I love your story, and I want to share it with the peoples. Your journey. It's been a great journey to come to us with the CDC. Now, your wife and your lovely family reside in Buffalo, right? Are you originally from Buffalo?
Yeah. Originally from Buffalo, born and pretty much raised there with a couple stints elsewhere.
Well, the elsewhere. Okay, so a little elsewhere. Tell the folks about a little elsewhere. Mainly another continent.
Doug, we know you don't like to talk about this, right? But if you could just let us know.
Hey, just drag it out of me. It was an amazing time, and as anybody that hangs out with me will find out, there's a lot of stories from living over in China. I was there for almost 4 years, but it was a great experience all around. On the dart side, I got to make friends with Paul Lim, Royden Lam, some really great players over there. Hung out with Ethan Viljic in Hong Kong after randomly running into Angelo DiGiulio, who happened to be staying at the same hotel as me. So it was a different experience. A lot of darts live, not a whole lot of steel tip. I think my steel tip game kind of went down a little bit, but for the most part, it was just quite the experience.
I mean, that's a pretty typical Angelo DiGiulio story. Yeah, I just happened to run into him in Hong Kong. It really is. Because I love that story, because when you came to us through Q School a couple of seasons ago, I'm looking through the names, like, all right, that's cool. All right, we got this guy, Doug Boehm, and I'm like, all right, but the people who were in the know, who, have traveled the circuit for years, were like, no, Dougie's a player. Dougie's the real deal, and Dougie's going to be an asset to this circuit, and you certainly have been, and it hasn't been disappointing. Your performances have been awesome, multiple 100-plus averages, and in my opinion, you're just a guy who gets it all around, from the board to the analytics to the psychological to the showman part of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects to the game, and a lot of it happens, in your head, and how you make that happen is through being prepared, knowing what you're going to do up there, knowing what you're going to do throughout the day, getting ready, sometimes even, the night before getting ready. And that's where the experience really comes in. You just get better the more you know what to expect.
Sean, I know you may have one or two items that you want to put in front of Dougie.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, you've been a major contributor to us for the last few years, but you're also a major contributor to the Darts Reddit page. one of the people that's really popular on there. Give us some insight to like the interactions that you have with people on that page, and just I know you have a lot of fun with it, so just talk about it for a minute.
Yeah, what's cool about that is it's an international community. You get a lot of people from the UK, so it's very steel tip focused. But I also am able to give insight into the soft tip. You get a lot of Americans that say something about soft tip, and then everybody from the UK, downvotes them and says, "Get off of here." But I can help out and give credence to the fact that soft tip is an actual game. Takes some skill, not as much as steel tip, but some. And so the community, I think we're about 75,000 on there that are subscribed members, and it's sort of a different place. It's not like Facebook where you see these arguments oftentimes among soft tip players, and it's a more it's a fandom because there's a lot of people that talk about the PDC and their favorite players and the types of darts that they use. So it's got like a very interesting dynamic, and I really like to chime in when players are asking how can they improve their game. What kind of practice routines do you do? What's the experience like for players at major events and tournaments? Having played all over the world, I've had the opportunity to see how things work in all different areas. So I like to give my insight, and I like to think that it's helpful, but who knows?
It's a really cool thing that you bring to it. Yeah. No, go ahead.
I actually wore the QR code. I don't think it scans on TV, but I wore the QR code for anybody that wanted to go to the darts Reddit and become a member of the community on my Continental Cup jersey this year.
That's lovely. So from Hong Kong to Modus to on stage at MSG to Continental Cups, what's been your proudest moment so far in darts?
I mean, walking out on stage at Madison Square Garden, I talk about experience and knowing what to expect. There was no knowing what to expect in that situation. And it was just sort of surreal the whole time. But when I got on stage and actually started playing, it just felt right. It felt good. And I would say that was my proudest moment. The whole experience, the fact that I hit a really nice, pretty 11 darter, opened up the next leg, hit 5 perfect. Wish I would have had the 6, and everybody would have really booed me when I missed the first dart in the next turn. But just that energy and that feeling, I don't think it could be any better. But I've got so many things that I go back to and I think about. And ultimately, number one, aside from playing, is just all the people that I've gotten to become friends with.
You're welcome.
There is one in particular, and that's Paulin.
That's fair. It's very fair.
So, Sean, I know you've got another question for Doug about a great little product that Doug's got that people are really, really getting turned on to.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the Boehm Bag, right? It's an idea that kind of comes out of nowhere. It's revolutionized the game a little bit, right? You got the "Hello, my name is" on the front there, your little no-name moniker. But talk to us about the Boehm Bag. You obviously can't go into the secrets of, the building process of it, but just your idea behind it and what you plan to do with it. Some of the cool experiences you've had.
I started using this probably 12 or more years ago. And I always said, like, it's the greatest thing. People should use it. I let people try it at events and stuff, and they all thought that it was amazing, but I also wasn't willing to share what I had. And I always thought, like, maybe someday when I'm not playing and I don't need to have this advantage over everybody else, I'll actually share it. But in talking to Dave and Stowe, and really that's where it changed, was when Stowe won his 3 events on the one weekend. He stole one from me. That was before it was the Boehm Bag. That was just when it was a raw product. And that kind of launched okay, I guess I got to share this with other people. Otherwise they're just going to steal it from me and go win all the money that I could have had. But to talk about what it is, the main thing is it's a grip enhancer. And you can use wax, you can use chalk. I've used those. Rosin was my go-to. I used to play baseball, so having a rosin bag in my hand, got used to that. But all those things leave a residue, and this does not. And that's what's the beauty of it. I used to remember back, like it first sort of clicked with me with rosin. I was in Syracuse playing, and I was like, okay, I need like 2 hours of playing, sweating, rosin, wash my hands, rosin, sweat, play, and it would like cake up, and okay, now I'm at the perfect point. This stuff literally within like 15 seconds to a couple minutes, you get the right feel. You can even wash your hands. There's really nothing that you can do to screw it up. And to me, it's just the purest form. And I've got very oily, sweaty hands, so it was something that was very important to me.
Awesome. So we'll give Doug. So if folks stick around before the end of the show, we'll give Doug a chance to plug where you can get your own Boehm bag. And with enough practice and dedication, maybe you can be half as good as Doug Boehm. So you talked about the QR code on the cool shirt at Philly. So let's see. I think our man Jeff, and I should thank our team behind the scenes, producer Jeff McMahon and our showrunner KJ McGlynn, of course, helping us bring everything. Where's that beautiful shirt? Do we got a shot at the shirt? We got the Dayman shirt. And so it's no surprise if anybody who was in that room in MSG, when I say Dougie gets it, Doug gets it. So we're in Philadelphia. So what, of course, are we going to do when we come on stage on Friday night? Hit it. Let's see the walk-on. From It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Season 4, episode 13.
So was this just, as soon as we announced Philadelphia, is this a no-brainer?
I don't really remember what first triggered it, but David and I were talking about stuff, and I said I wanted something Philly, and I don't know who first came up with it, but the Charlie idea, I mean, the no name lends itself to somebody like Charlie Day. He is the everyman. He is the no man. Like it's, it fits really well. And I mean, that episode is iconic. I love It's Always Sunny. I remember watching it for the first time and being like, blown away by that episode because it was brilliant.
And here's the best part: if Doug's going to go, Doug's going to buy in all the way.
Yeah, you can't. Everything. You can't half-ass anything. Well, that was a little throw to the Nightman, who is master karate.
Yeah. You got to counter that. Absolutely beautiful. We were howling in the house. I must admit, I knew it was coming. I wasn't familiar, so I made sure I watched the episode, and I was up in commentary with Sean, and we were just howling. It was fantastic. It was fantastic.
I'm glad it worked. It played well. The crowd was good with it, and the energy that got me, I think, really helped in the match as well.
It did, and we'll get to that in just a few moments. Dougie had a real slobber knocker on Friday, and it was a beautiful match, and we'll get his thoughts on that. Anything, Sean, before we sort of transition out of Doug into the Continental Cup?
Yeah, just the last thing that I have for you, man. So obviously the showman aspect of that. So how much do you consciously put effort into being a showman when you play live or on stream? We see it out of you often. Just talk us through that.
Yeah. So I'm usually fairly introverted, except once I get into my element. And I mean, it's something that's come out of me more and more as I've gotten just in generally older and more comfortable with the fact that I don't give a what somebody else thinks. So being out there and the crowd's there for some fun, for a show. If they want to just watch a few darts be thrown, they'll follow along on Dart Connect, and who cares? But you want to have some people that you're interested in. You want to have something that gets you going, and we see that overseas with. It's not even so much the players as everybody else that's in the room. They need to feel comfortable. the fact that they can cheer for somebody. They're not always, they don't even realize, you can be loud and you can cheer, and I like that. So it just is something that's kind of built, and you think about it a little bit, but really you just got to be focused on the darts still. You can't let it take over.
The dart smarts. It's all about the crowd, baby.
So I see we've got a question for Doug. Let's stay with the one question for Doug. If Jeff can get that up, he'll promo it, but I'll give it to you. Set it up. What's your long-term plan in darts, Doug? What do you see? Where do you want to do, say, 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, about 2 years ago, I said when I started playing on the CDC and doing pretty well, I said in the next 5 years I want to go to Q school at some point, but I can't become like a full-time pro. I do have some opportunities with my company and my work that I could potentially live over in Europe, or primarily like in London and England. So if it did come up and I could make that happen, it would certainly be a way to make it work. But I kind of look at my goals as I want to be averaging 90 plus with 100 plus first nine and a 37.5 plus checkout percentage.
I told you the man was analytical. He's got it down to decimals.
When I get there, then I'll make the next decision.
All right. I think that was a really great answer. So thank you for your question. We want to let everybody know to keep to stay in the know with the CDC. Sign up for the CDC newsletter and be the first to get the latest news, tips on improving your own dart game, special offers, discounts, and insider info. So scan the code or click on the link in the comments and sign up for the CDC official newsletter. Okay. So with that, now let's move into night one of the 2024 Continental Cup Tour Finals Championship presented by Cosmo Darts. Boom! You got to give it all there. So we open up. We're in Philadelphia, East Coast, hoping for a real crackling night, fan base in Philadelphia. We've been there before. Not with a special event. So, a lot of unknowns, but, we expected Philly to come through, and we think they did. So now let's open up with round one. We'll get those results up there, and we'll chat about it. And Sean and I were in the booth for a lot. And Doug, give us your, obviously we'll go into your match a little bit, but, from a player's perspective, give us some color into, how the guys were feeling in the player area, warming up. What was the chatter? The feel of the night. Did you get, anybody commenting on other people playing and notable stuff? So we will go through the evening in order of play. So we opened up and we saw Jacob Taylor take on the Truth. Jacob Taylor take on the Sniper, Steve Warnock. And we see the Truth came out of that 5-3. And I will use our little graphic up here. Jacob coming through 80 average. It was a slow match. It is always tough being that first match up there. Everybody, including the players, are kind of getting their feet under them. The crowd's just coming in. The production's getting underway. And, from what we've seen from Steve, definitely a less than par performance. We've seen him perform really well in those cross borders, but Jacob Taylor gets through nonetheless. So you guys, jump in here anytime you want if you've got anything to say there. Sean and I saw, Jacob all year long, right? That slow burn. Yep. So he gets his first win under his belt.
Yeah, I'll add. Yeah. Steve was playing great in the practice room. Steve always has. He's the kind of guy. I mean, I've roomed with him. He rolls out of bed, and I've seen him throw 180 like not wearing pants. And he's throwing great in the practice room, and just something. I think Steve's a little out of practice right now, and when it went off a little bit for him, he tried to find it, and that's the hardest thing to do up on stage. Is once it's gone, it's hard to find that.
Yeah, and he'll tell you that he's struggled a little bit this year overall with his just consistency of his game. And I think Doug nailed on the head. I think once he got behind a little bit, he just tried to force it a little bit too much. And you know what happens when that happens. It never turns out well for the most part.
It's tough to keep. Yeah, that hole just keeps digging, and it's tough to come out of. So we move into the second match, and really highly anticipated match. Three-time world champion Darth Maple, John Part takes on the defending champion, though. So as much as a lot of people in the room, you want magic to happen. Stowe Bunce has another monstrous, summer, high averages all year long, gets a couple of wins, and ultimately comes through pretty handily. 5-2 over John. John had some really good moments early on, but Stowe, I believe it was two. It was back to back ton plus checkouts that really kind of took the wind out of John's sails, and the defending champ, moved into the quarters.
Yeah, the 106 checkout followed by the 107 checkout in legs 1 and 2 definitely tell a pretty big story there for Stowe right out the gate. He's one of those players that I think is just going to consistently be at the top of the leaderboard, right? If you are a player who, like Doug, who's trying to get ahead of him in scoring and things like that, it's just tough to really get past the consistency that he has and the ability that he has to switch and be just as consistent on a different number. If the first idea is not working, right? Mm-hmm. We had that moment there early on in the match that with the 1-0 score line that ended up getting fixed pretty much immediately. Impressive, actually, that John, after everything, still hit a 134. One thing that gets lost in that is after like the minute and a half, he still hit a 134 right after it, which was super impressive. But I'd say that didn't really play into the final scoreline at all. It was so early on. Stowe just shot really well. 92 average is going to get the job done a lot of the times, and he played that role pretty consistently.
Yeah, and he landed, we'll look at our friends at Dark Connect, pull up the, event leaderboard and fill in some numbers. And Stowe Bunce finished for the 2-day tournament with a 3-dart average of 91.47. So he was a leader in the clubhouse in terms of an overall 3-dart average. Then we move into the epic, on paper, always you hype up. And I said this in commentary, as a promoter, you're always going to throw out 8-9, 8-9. It's going to be the tightest match, and it's going to. Well, it pretty much turned out to be the match of the night. We saw Doug Boehm, no name, come out ahead of the Mauler Gary Mawson 5-4 in what was just an absolutely thrilling contest. And you've got the man here with us, so walk us through that match. It was nip and tuck, and as an 8-9 was expected to be.
Yeah, I knew that Gary had a pretty good year this year. He won in Chicago when I think we would have lined up to play against each other in our seedings, and I wasn't able to make that event. So I kind of felt like I owed him to be knocked out in the first round of this one. So I was really coming in, and I was gunning for it. And that's part of the preparation, part of the feeling good, part of the having the crowd on my side. That was not to knock Gary, but I felt like I was going to have the bigger opportunity to have the crowd, and I thought that it was going to help me and hurt him if I did it. I mean, I look at it's for fun, but I'm also trying to use it to improve my game. Not trying to throw him off, but I just knew that it would be a driver for me. So when it got into what I expected, and it was tight and it was a tough battle, I just felt like it played right into the game plan that I expected, and it really helped that I hit that 120 in the first leg.
Did it surprise you at all that Gary started playing to the crowd too?
A little bit. I mean, Gary's not that type.
Right. Right.
So I wasn't.
Yeah, he's not overly showy, but in all fairness, in our 10 years, when we struggled to get some emotion from some guys, Gary was one that would give you the occasional. He'd give you a fist bump and everything. So, but I mean, to your point, I don't disagree. But he's got it in a little bit. I think I think it might have been his realization that, like, I do have to counterpunch here a little bit, right? In that Dougie's
I-
got this crowd, he's got some emotion to it. If I can find a spot here, I'm going to try and sway him a little.
Yeah, there's a difference though between like showing emotion. I mean, I've always done that, and then actually turning towards the crowd and trying to bring them
Yeah,
into what you're doing. And I didn't expect that out of Gary. Um,
he
and
was just
actually
sort
after
of
the match,
A Hulk Hogan, you're
after after the match, Gary came up to me and he said, I the crowd really was on your side. I don't know why. They were really on your side, and maybe I'm just too old for them.
he had a yellow
Ah,
top hat, everybody. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean
I mean,
it was a good match just to be a part of and to watch. I listened to it on the way home. Didn't watch it yet, but I think it was a quality match, and I'd like to be a part of that.
It
yeah,
definitely was
6
quality match.
straight breaks
It
a throw.
really, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
for a fact, people were walking out of that Friday night session talking about that Boehm Mawson match, and it wasn't just because of the showmanship. It that really lent itself to a memorable match, but you guys didn't disappoint in giving people true sports entertainment. So that saw Mr. Boehm move into the quarters for Saturday night. And then, from Part to Mawson, we get to Butler. More iconic CDC names. The Eagle plays the Reaper, Adam Savada. And again, it's this phase of legendary CDC names still competing, still in a finals, but now all starting to face, a next page, a next chapter in what the CDC has become. These players that are substantial, really tough, good players, and Savada's one of them. So again, another player. I'm sure people in the crowd excited. You see Butler, the name and the resume, but boy, oh boy, what a tough character in Savada he had to face. We just watched Adam get better and better and better coming into the Continental Cup, and a lot of folks picked Adam Savada to win this whole thing, and he gets through Larry 5-3. But we saw some good darts from Larry, Sean. Those first couple of legs,
Yeah. I mean, Larry was up
he was in
3-2.
there.
He was up 3-2, and I'm sitting there doing commentary, wondering what an idiot I am for picking Savada. Also, I was kind of an idiot because in the players' practice room, I looked at Larry and I go, "Make me look like an idiot tonight." And I think he took that to heart or something because he came out firing.
Any
which you
chance to
expect.
put
Yeah.
some egg on Sean Green's face, he was in.
Listen, first of all, John Part confused me with Will. Let's just call it what it is. Heartbreaking forever. But that being said, Butler Savada, it was a great matchup. It was exactly what we were looking for. Overall, it was really really fun to see and to see Adam kind of have to dig deep to pull out that one. It should have given a lot of confidence going to Saturday night, but when you run up against the players that you run up to, like an Alex Spellman, it's difficult.
So Doug, as we're halfway through night one, and I'll start moving us along, but is there a feeling in the player room? Was like you just said, that you saw Warnock, he's playing well, but he gets up on stage and it doesn't translate. Was there a feeling of anybody in that player room that people were looking around like, oh, he's looking good, or he's got it tonight, or anything like that?
This event was a little different because we had the split room. We had the practice in the back, and so I didn't get a good. It felt different.
Okay.
There was a lot of interaction, but we're also like there's the bar with everybody on the other side of the curtain, and so the energy just felt really different in the room, not in a negative way, but just a tough to judge sort of way. But everybody comes in, and at this point, we've been playing together for a long time. We've been in these events together for a long time. I didn't sense anybody felt off, and I think that showed for the most part. I mean, we had pretty good matches.
Oh yeah, we did, and we moved into Joey Lenoir, silent but deadly, takes on the Jackal, Alex Spellman. And, Spellman, people talked about him not necessarily having a good year, but he opened up the year, won the cross border. He won 2 of the 4 summer events that we've had. So, it wasn't exactly that, Spellman came up completely empty, but he
What a
just
terrible year.
but there was so much more press in the first half of the year. Gates and Cameron and Long and Savata and stuff, that in a way, Spellman started to become kind of a dark horse. And guy like Spellman, that's a dangerous spot to put him in there. And he gets through Joey 5-3. And let's take a look at the numbers. Yeah, real solid performance from Alex. And I think this is where, coming out of Friday, that people did really raise an eyebrow and go, oh, wait a minute. We could have a really tough Spellman on our hands here going into Saturday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to point out, though, Joey had the second highest losing average opening night. He shot phenomenal. He was throwing real fast, hitting trebles left and right. Early on, he put a lot of pressure on Spellman and forced Alex to play better, which it was great to see Alex perform to that level. But I want to give the now 23-year-old some props for that. He really came out of the gate firing when he could have easily have rolled over for someone like an Alex Spellman. He had just gotten back from the WDF event where he shot 85 averages, and he played extremely well. I'm excited to see his future. I think it's just going to get better and better for Joey Lenoir.
Almost forced a decider there too,
against
Alex.
Yeah,
but Alex shot great.
Oh, of course. Yeah, exactly. Alex shot great, and Alex started to set the tone. And just, I'll give my little bit on Joey. Yeah, I think Joey is, starting to settle into a really good place of learning his craft a little more. Came out as a younger player, won a lot, and I think a lot was put on his shoulders. And now he's just, I think, starting to, going to quietly be a dangerous player to come across as we move forward in the championship dart circuit. So then we move into match 6, and we saw the 16 seed Nick Lindberg take on Soldier, the 1 seed. Gates gets that 5-3. Lindberg played well early on, and like I said, I was real surprised in the amount of people that were tipping Lindberg for this match. So delve into that a little bit, Sean, because I know you came across a lot of that.
Yeah, it honestly, it kept coming up over and over again. When Cameron dropped out and it put Lindberg in the field, a lot of players were like, oh, that became a much tougher draw for Soldier, and then it did, and it turned out to be Lindberg had the highest or higher average, but timing shots from Gates really proved paramount in that first match. I know you were on the call there with Will, and I'm sure that's just kind of how it felt to you. He just hit the big shots there when he needed to time wise. Otherwise, I think a lot of people were spot on there that Lindberg could have definitely pulled that upset. And then what changes from there? Doug Boehm doesn't have to play Gates in round 2. You never know what happens.
It was all Nick's fault.
Yeah, Nick actually beat Leonard in one of the later events of the season. So it's I mean, Nick's a quality player. He had also beat Mawson.
Quality player, and like you said, I mean that I think was the germ of what people were building their prediction on, was that Lindberg has played Gates real tough and got the better of him there during the course of the season. So now we move towards the end of the night, and we've got One-Eyed Jack Robinson making his Continental Cup debut. He takes on the gentleman, Jim Long, the number 2 seed. Jim takes that 5-1 pretty handily, pretty steady. We saw, Jim really start to get comfortable, give us signs of what was to come on Saturday. And, we've told the Jim Long story quite a few times. Wonderful development over the course of the summer. Like I kept using the term, he bet on himself there. Niagara Falls, gets the wins that he needs, chases down Cameron, and he's going to the Alley Pally, and the 2 seed moves into the quarterfinals. And then we finish up with what I thought was going to be a much tighter match. It kind of, it was quietly
Yep.
tucked back there, but a 7-10 match in, Jake Womack came in as the 7, taking on the Stinger, Jeff Springer, in the 10 seed. And, Womack took him 5-1. Let me look at the numbers up there. Jacob 89, Jeff Springer 82, but certainly not what Jeff was looking for. And you had touched on Joey being over in Europe playing, and Jeff was right before the Cup, qualified for Lakeside. So definitely came in what we thought was going to be in form. So disappointing there for Springer. And what did you guys see that as we closed out the night there?
Yeah, I thought Womack just played extremely well. He kind of just came out power scoring, and just really did his job. It was more that than Jeff kind of falling down or to the wayside there with 82. Womack just played phenomenal. It coming into night 2, it was almost like
more the strength of Womack from
Womack was definitely the hotter player coming into night 2 over Long. You knew that first match of night 2 was going to dictate kind of maybe how that side of the bracket ended up showing up. And Womack was by far, I think, the most surprising, impressive display from night 1.
Yeah, I really think that Jake is such an excellent player. He's really fun to hang out with, really fun to play with. I actually got to meet him. I'm in San Jose right now. I got to meet him when I was out here last year before the first indie event. Got to play with him, and he knocked me around. I couldn't even get a leg at one point. He's a fantastic player, and I mean Jeff, same thing. I expected this one to be better than what Gary and I shot, but that's why we play. It never turns out like we expect.
So then that leaves us 8 players, and we go into Saturday night, the big finals night, as we talked about it. And Sean and I and Will Stewart and Pete Cetera, we head down to Independence Hall, and we did a great little piece and got everybody excited, and that was really a blast, and had a lot of fun with that. So we open up, and I'll admit it, that we finished night 1, and me and the tournament director Peter Cetera, we confab and what kind of schedule do we make, and in the olden days there in the PDC, they used to call it the Phil Taylor spot. He always played third. You put that what's going to be the biggest eyeballs match third. So you've got Dayman coming down, and you've got Soldier coming down. They're playing against each other. What's going to be the funnest match of the night? And that's so that's how Boehm and Gates get slotted in third. So that's how your schedule got put together. There was your entertainment slot. But we open up with, on the quarters, like we saw Womack have a really good performance. He takes on Jim Long in our opening quarterfinal of the night, and these games did not disappoint. Jim Long kept up his form. So did Womack, and they all of these were tight, and a 6-4 match, and they were truly, Sean, you and I were in commentary with Will, and most of these matches really went, it was either they got into a hold throw pattern or a break pattern, but it was, people rarely got out 3 legs ahead. It was all nip and tuck.
Yeah, and there were times where it would be going one way, and they would completely flip the match over, especially second semifinal and the final definitely did that. But in those quarterfinal matchups too, it would start out 2-1 one way and go the opposite way by the end of the day. Womack definitely dropped in his average. I don't know. I'm going to say a little bit of that is Jim just kind of timed things right and played with a little bit more of a deliberate pace that I think might have slowed down Jake a little bit. But again, you mentioned it. Night 1, same thing. The first match is always a little bit testy, especially on night 2 when you're now trying to run through and make the Continental Cup Tour finals, like our current champion in the chat right now.
You're one of 8, and it's all there in front of you. So Doug, how do you go into a night like that? How do you go into a night where, to raise a championship, you're going to have to go 3 rounds? You've got a tough quarterfinal matchup, and are you paying attention to anybody else that's playing while you're warming up? How do you put the blinders on? How do you approach a big finals night.
Yeah, it's a little more focused. You got a longer way to go. You're not just one and then I get to leave, or I should say, watch the other events. You're really. I mean, I didn't leave. Don't worry. It's
Keep 'em
something
in
that you gotta.
suspense.
I meant leave mentally.
Sorry.
You get it, right?
Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah.
So, but leading in, being in that third match, I didn't pay too close attention to the ones coming up. You're really focusing on going through the routines, making sure that you're building the little bits of skill shots and stuff that you're trying to get you ready for on stage. But you do, especially since you're friends with everybody out there and you want to know who's making it through. But it's not so much because you want somebody to win so that you don't have to play somebody. At this point, you're going to get something good out of anybody that just show up at any point. So, you're trying to build your game to be the best and to be the best for, the next 4 hours.
So next up in the quarterfinals, the defending champ hits the stage and he took on Jacob Taylor. So we see Stowe Bunce get through 6-3. Again, average is pretty tight, nip and tuck through there. And then, of course, our guest hits the stage against the 1 seed, Leonard Gates. And Mr. Gates got the better of Mr. Boehm there, 6-3. Any color inside of that for us, Doug, in terms of, similar profile, really tight, back and forth?
Yeah, it felt like he did to me what I did to Gary in terms of timeliness, and that pissed me off. not so much in the moment as afterwards. But Leonard can do anything on the board, so you can't leave him with a 107 or whatever, because you saw him. I think he took 2 ton-plus finishes on me in a row. And that was after I'd gotten a nice little lead. Really should have taken the first leg. And I had opportunities that I took, but not in the same way. And a lot of the way that I've been playing lately has been, I go fast and then I stumble and then I take a big out, and I got to be opportunistic because I just haven't been as sharp as I should be. As I've been in the past, but I feel like I'm building other skills that when I get that sharpness back, I'll be even harder to beat. So, it's something to work on. Every game's an experience.
And I see our champion there, Mr. Not to spoil the surprise for anybody, but yeah, Mr. Leonard Gates there in the chat. Now I see what Sean was touching on. And we finish up the evening with Spellman, Savada, 4 plays 5. So again, you expect a tough contest. We get that. Spellman gets the better of Savada, 6-3, puts up a 92 average. So again, I think in the room, a lot of people like, oh boy, we may have a real run here from Spellman. He's got the cross border in his pocket. Can he win both of them in one season? And so that really started to gear up the excitement for Spellman. So Sean, come back to you for a second if you've got anything on those quarterfinals before we move into some epic semis.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Savada Spellman quarterfinal itself was a really great match. Alex Spellman averaging the 92.5, and you're absolutely right. What that did was like, oh, Spellman's here tonight. This is the Alex Spellman that we've seen shoot 98 and lose to Ryan Joyce. This is the Alex Spellman that we've seen win the cross-border darts challenge. He looked smooth. He looked really calm and collected. And you almost expected him going into the Gates match as almost a favorite, even though it's the 1 seed versus the 5. Now, Leonard, just decided to shut that down. But that semifinal, once you realized that it was going to be Soldier versus Spellman, you knew that was going to be a great match. And boy, was it a great match.
Yeah, these semis were epic, and we're all sports fans here. A lot of times, finals have prestige, and finals, you're going to see a trophy and stuff. But sometimes, would you rather have a ticket to semifinals night or the NFC and AFC conference games? A lot of times, those are the real games that are just epic and talked about forever. And we had 2 semifinals that were just phenomenal. And we'll put the scores up and we'll talk about it for a second. You can go find those on YouTube. in our whole presentation, but I'm going to put the pinch on our production team right now that within the next 10 days, I'll give them 10 days. We'll get the semis and finals out as independent matches so we can get them shared and everybody can enjoy. And there's Jeff, the producer, wiping. Oh, geez, he gave me more work. But so the semis, and now the semis really, this is those places, and these matches didn't disappoint, that you get that real buzz in the room. This was all, everybody's ticket price was paid at this point, and we open up. The first semi was Jim Long and Stowe Bunce. So you've got the defending champ taking on the 2 seed for the event. It goes the distance, as you can see on the screen, 7-6 to Long. They both play 90 plus, and it's one of these games where you're doing commentary. There's nothing to say because it's all fun. The guys are playing great. They're having a great time. Everybody in the room's having a great time. Just phenomenal. Yeah. Anything on that?
It's just the impressive thing again. That was one of those 2 matches where Long was down 6-5 to the defending champion, came back, breaks the throw in the penultimate leg, and then holds in that last leg decider. It was really good to see, and he threw well in those last 2 legs to get that job done. It was not Stowe kind of falling by the wayside or like that. The gentleman just rose to a new level. It was really cool to see in that first semifinal.
So now we move into the second semi, and now you've got Gates there, the 1 seed. As we talked about, we see him get through, a match with Lindbergh, fight through that a little bit, plays Boehm in the quarters. As Doug explained, he's picking his spots now, so it's so you can see Gates coming into form, but he takes on Spellman, who's increasingly putting up better numbers, and it's like, is the Spellman train moving now? And it's just what a great 1-2 punch there in the semis. Gates gets him 7-5, but another absolute doozy. So I'll go to you, Doug, then, for those two semis. How do you, as a competitor in the event, but like you said, these guys, you travel with them, compete against them. How do you watch that match versus the general darting fan?
Well, I was staying with Stowe, so I love Jim. Jim's a great friend of mine, but the house was going to be a lot more fun if Stowe won.
You got to play it fair. You got to play it true, right?
I mean, that's the only way I get anything out of it. So, I mean, it is tough. I mean, you want a great match. You want both guys to walk away and say that they felt like they played well, that they felt like it was a good experience for everybody. And I mean, it's hard to root for anybody. I'll be completely honest. Like, I'm just rooting for good darts, and I'll cheer when Jim hits. I'll cheer when Stowe hits. I'll be sad when Jim misses and sad when Stowe misses. That's kind of how I feel in a match like that. And same with Alex and Leonard. It's tough. It's tough to root for anybody. I wish I hated somebody so that I could root against them.
Yeah, the old cliche. Exactly. Let everybody play well, and the best man wins at the end. And just as long as everybody competes well and performs well, we move on. So before I'll let Sean then give us a recap from his standpoint. Let's now get into the final so we can move along a little bit. The final, as I said, with sometimes semis, and then you get a disappointing final. Boy, oh boy, did we not get a disappointing final. This thing, I tracked it about. I looked at the Dart Connect, and Jim's out a couple of legs, and Leonard goes out a couple of legs, and then we get down to leg 15. Jim comes up, triple 16, just misses 2-4, hitting the double 14 with 2 darts, and Leonard comes up, and I believe, was it a tops or tens? I can't recall exactly what, and he hoists the 2024 Continental Cup, the first player to have won 2 Continental Cups in our 10-year period. Boy, oh boy, what a moment.
Absolutely. It was double 8 was his winning double there.
Double 8.
And it's only because we have the footage of that. That's the reason why I remember that at this point. Just because it was such a good battle. Long took a 7-6 lead. Again, 1 leg away from hoisting the trophy himself. Gates had to win those last 2 legs on the spins, and he did so again, just going to a different gear. It was really nervy there at the end, but also it's exactly what you want in a final. Gates gets the job done. You got to give tip your hat to him, because he performed extremely well all season long, obviously, to be the number 1 seed, and then to get the job done, become the only 2-time champion of the Continental Cup. He just keeps breaking these records this season.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Now I feel I'm being piled up on. The person who's on stage scoring, Angelo's like, he hit a 140 to leave 16. All right, I apologize. I got it wrong.
But it's
okay.
You
weren't there for that one.
Jim's sitting on 170 and Leonard's sitting on 256. He went a ton 40, and then took out the double 8. Like it,
yep.
That kind of stuff. You shoot a 43 that turn, and all of a sudden it's over. They're kiss the cup goodbye.
And there you go. There's the championship.
Leonard Gates is the 2-time Continental Cup champion. Our first ever, folks.
I did not have any type of noise or voice changer on my voice, just so you know. It was just the end of the weekend of just raspiness there on the call.
we were all shot at that point. So as you said, Gates takes in 10 years his second Continental Cup. He's won 2 match plays. He's the all-time leader right now in regular season circuit wins at 11. So, what an impressive decade for Leonard Gates. We wanted to touch on some other notable things. Gary Mawson plays in his 9th consecutive cup. In 10 years, we've played 9 cups. 1 year we didn't, obviously because of COVID. Larry Butler right behind him played in nearly everything 1 year based on medical reasons. Doesn't make, the Butlers always want to follow that up, and rightly so. He had a serious heart attack, didn't play, and then boom, there he is, 2024. I think he's the 13th seed. So, some legendary players, putting, great 10-year runs into this thing. And Gates is kind of the bridge bearer there, with us from the beginning, won all along. He's not done yet. And we've got a new amazing crop of players coming through. So let's go to Mr. Gates real quickly to hear what he had to say post championship.
Last 10 years, you've now won 11 circuit events. All-time leader, 2-time Continental Cup champion, 2-time match play champion. Leonard Gates, is Leonard Gates the greatest player in CDC 10-year history?
I will have to say yes, but there's a lot of dark players out there that's coming to play this game, and they're going to try to challenge me or challenge anybody that's in the top. Hey, we welcome it.
And Mr. Gates kept the party going. Dougie started us off on Friday night. Gates finished it, and he let the crowd see a little showmanship with the Continental Cup.
I mean, you're just seeing Dancing Leonard is a dangerous player. He really is, and you can tell where he's really in the mood for it too, where he'll just kind of randomly start doing it in other major tournaments and bigger tournaments out there, and so he's not just doing that for the crowd. That is Leonard Gates, how he performs when he plays his best.
I knew I wasn't going to win the crowd against him.
And that is Gates, but that also was a culmination, really. I want to thank the crowd that was there on Saturday night. It really did all come together. The town responded, the ticket holders responded, the players responded, and it really was a really fantastic night with Mr. Gates dancing off into the night with the Continental Cup. Sean, before we go to break,
I just want to make sure that we also give a huge shout out to the Evo Tour final that took place right before the final. Douglas DeMcKelly and Nicholas Cripps was a great battle. Last leg decider, came down to finishing. Douglas had his moments. It was really, really fun to call that match, and I really truly mean that.
Another
right
two
that
got the
awesome.
memo, right? We got 2 semis that went, there was only one leg that didn't get played in the semis. We put the Evolution Tour, and for those, this is the, 16 to 23 age gap, put them up there, to give them some in front of the fans, a great moment. Best of 11. What do? They go all 11, right? And like you said, Nicholas Cripps takes it 6-5. So they got the memo that this is showtime, baby. And they really responded. And it was a whole lot of fun. And we want to congratulate Nicholas on really a substantial title for a young player. And he now earns a CDC tour card, and we'll might possibly see him on the circuit next year.
Which is great because Douglas already has a CDC tour card going into next year. So both of them now on tour. Hopefully they take advantage of that. And I know Douglas will, because he did it a lot this year. Just take the lumps, right? Right, Doug? Take the lumps.
Yep.
The only way to learn is to get out and do it. Yep. And we'll be right back in a second. We're going to take a quick look at the circuit itself. But here's a little spot to tell you how you can now go out and earn your CDC tour card. All right. So with the Continental Cup down, we just want to get Doug's perspective on the season, and Sean being behind the microphone. So let's take a look. We want to give kudos out to everybody that won this season. We played 14 events. We started all the way back there in Indianapolis, all the way in May. So let me see. Shall I just read them out? We saw Event 1, Leonard Gates. Event 2, I got him in front of me, David Cameron. Event 3, Gary Mawson. Event 4, Stowe Bunce. Event 5, David Cameron. Event 6, Jim Long. Event 7, Stowe Bunce. Event 8, Leonard Gates. Event 9, Leonard Gates. And you wonder why he was the 1 seed. Event 10, Jim Long. Event 11, Alex Spellman. Event 12, Adam Savada. Event 13, Jake Womack. Event 14, Adam Savada. So those are your regular season winners. You want to obviously acknowledge, I've got the full season here. Like we said, Alex Spellman opened up the season as the cross-border challenge. We also had some summer series events. Kevin Luke won 2 of those. Alex Spellman won 2 as well. So congrats there. And going into MSG, our qualifiers, that was Savada, Cameron, and Smith, right? Coming out of those qualifiers in Indy. So congrats to all of those players. So, Boehm, give us your, as things unfolded, like you talked about, opened up well, and then there was, a weekend that you couldn't make it, and then you're chasing down and all that stuff. So give us Doug Boehm's summer as we came into Philly.
I thought it was a good year because I didn't feel like I played as well as I could have. That first weekend was, I thought that I was going to be burning it up after that. But it kind of slowed down. And I don't know if it was the weekend that I missed that kind of got in my head or something, but my darts just haven't been stacking as nicely, and I'm working on it. So next year, maybe event 1, we'll have another 100+ loss in the finals to Leonard. But really, when you look at the season as a whole, not just for me, like that was the highest losing average ever. It was on stream in a final. Mm-hmm. Then within just a few events, it goes and gets broken as now it's the second highest losing average. Everything's just getting better, and I can't slow down. I can't let them get past me. Leonard said there's lots of great players out there. Bring them on. Just stay home, please. You're pushing me too hard. But no, I love the game. I love the opportunities the CDC has provided me. And I think I will continue to get better. And this season, overall happy. I think it could have been better though.
And we do mean it complimentary when we do commentary. We see those averages, and I know it's frustrating for you. Put up such substantial averages. It's there. It's if anybody's going to bet against Doug Boehm hoisting a trophy in 2025, I think you're going to be it's a losing proposition. So that the next step,
Doug, you can just say a schmuck. Be a
A
schmuck.
schmuck. You're a schmuck. You're a schmuck. Quickly, we've got a question I see. I'm not going to it. I'm just going to answer it. Somebody's asking about an explanation on the Dayman thing from Philadelphia. It's earlier in the show, so rewind, listen to the replay, and you'll get an explanation on that. So, Sean, you give us your little, your take. You traveled in and out all season long throughout the circuit. So, give us a take on the overall 24 circuit.
Oh, what a great year for storylines. Start off David Cameron real hot, right? And then the Jim Long has to make the decision for Niagara, and then he shows up to the event Niagara and wins an event, makes another finals, and it just completely pays off for him, right? Of course, Adam Savada coming from starting off the year with the U.S. Darts Masters qualifier, and just Adam Savada is showing up and he's playing again. And then he continued that the entire season long. Stowe Bunce keeping that third spot to make sure that he's back in the World Darts Championship. The 3 representatives that we're sending over there, I don't think could be more prepared than they're going to be this year. I'm really excited to see kind of how they perform overseas this year. Same thing with Leonard going to the Grand Slam. I think he's going to be a great representative there. Whatever group he gets in, he's not the fun 4th player in that group. I can tell you that much. It was just a really good, solid season of just improvements all around. And from the production side of things, I have to give huge shout outs to Jeff McMahon, who was just absolutely phenomenal all season long. Continues to be with this podcast and everything else that he does. But he does the work of 5, 6, 7 people at times during production shows. And
that's it.
It's an impressive.
We got to cut his salary
to pull it off. Yeah. I mean, it's insane. It was a really, really cool year for me. And for it to end with me getting 6 different cheesesteaks from 5 different places in 3 days, we can go back to Philly anytime.
We picked the right spot, Sean Green.
Absolutely.
Another obviously from his great performance and everything over the weekend. Another good reason to have Doug on for this show is Doug is a large part of our Players Council that we don't talk about a lot, but we do have a group of players that the intent is to communicate with the player base and give a brain trust to help us work through some stuff. And is it fair to call you the chairperson right now of the Players Council? No, I wasn't sure what the exact. Yeah, I didn't want to pin anything. Spokesperson, maybe, in a way. No, okay.
The face.
Part of the Players Council. So let's leave it as part of the Players Council. So definitely want your perspective if you care to share anything on that, because we've worked on things over a lot more in the spring as we were getting ready, and it's been long overdue that we do meet, to be fair, and everybody knows that. But one thing that did come out of the Players Council in the spring that Sean and I, really enjoyed watching flourish was the associates list. Yeah. We gave this year players who had competed in the Q schools and summer series a chance if they hadn't earned cards, but they earned points in those events. And if we had a field of less than 64 tour card holders, they were invited. They responded splendidly, not just filling brackets, not just entering, but being so enthusiastic, so engaged, so just thrilled to get the opportunity to quite honestly compete against high profile and great players like yourself. So from what we did in the Players Council, how do you
I look at the affiliate list and I think I actually almost didn't make it my first year to get a CDC tour card. And I just would have been out in the last event. I had to beat Jay Barlow, former card holder, Kiefer Durham, future card holder. And then I played Warnock in the final. But thankfully I'd already gotten my card. And I mean, the rest is history for me. I go on the first event and make it to Madison Square Garden and continue to have no name. So it's something that is an awesome opportunity for people. If you're thinking about doing it, you can go just try to get your card and see how you play against other players. You might get it, you might not. And again, you just don't know. I didn't know what I was going to come up against. I'm so thankful that I've had the opportunity with CDC. And as far as the Players Council goes, the CDC is not like the PDC. There's a lot of changes every year. Things are not set. So we're trying to represent the best interest for the players, and also find ways to help this grow, because the CDC giving us opportunities only exists if the CDC exists. So we really are trying to partner and find what's right for North American darts. You cannot argue that the CDC has not helped North American darts, but it also doesn't exist without the players. So
Indeed.
It's really working together, and trying things. We're not going to make all the decisions that you want. We're not going to be able to do everything that we'd like to do next year, but it's over the course of time and giving input and making sure that we're all heard.
Yeah, everybody has to be open to analyzing and making changes, and not everything works. And just to look at that, analyze it, and come to hopefully a satisfactory choice on making some adjustments. And I know I can speak for my partners that we appreciate and value the current Players Council, just in your, as a group and individually, your attention to detail, passion for things, and I'm not even doing the group service in me stumbling over it right now. But the concise nature of that group is extremely impressive, and it really does spring hopeful to work with a group like that to see what we can do as we move forward, and really want to break this whole thing open real soon. Trying to think where I want to go from there. So there is one question. Let's go to a question for Doug, and we'll see if we can tie this all together. What are Doug's plans for the off season? Overseas tournaments or just relaxing? How often does he stay in touch with his fellow CDC mates?
Plans for the off season right now. I am, as I mentioned, in San Jose. I'm coming here every third, every month for the next few months. So it makes things a little tricky. I do kind of consider this off season is like my soft tip season. I will tell you how terrible soft tip is, but also how much fun it can be. It's two-sided. I mean, I started with soft tip before I knew that there was tournaments, but I got into my first leagues and tournaments in steel. So I hold both dear. And right now I have the Niagara Falls tournament coming up in about a month for the bull shooter. And then there's one in Batavia that happens in January. Yeah, Sean, you're going to switch. You're going to go to Niagara Falls and not Batavia this year.
Possibly,
better choice,
probably.
I think. Possibly, probably. But Batavia, I started going, and I literally play, I think I do one event in the weekend. And it's just 30 minutes from my house and then come back. But that's all until probably the Q School event that happens in Guelph or Kitchener, that you guys will have with the KW Tri-City.
Mm-hmm.
I've been going to that tournament for, I think I first went in like 2008. Absolutely loved the tournament. And so I'll be playing Syracuse, and then it's hopefully the cross-border challenge.
Yeah.
Maybe I go to Modus. I don't know if I can get time.
Well, we'd love to see. Everybody would love to see a Modus again and everything. Yeah. And
anybody.
What?
I just want to interrupt, because if anybody in the chat wants to see me at the cross-border, now's the time to let the CDC know as they need to make their decision on the wild cards, because I missed a weekend and my point standings probably would have put me in the position if I had been there for the whole thing. But I am not actually in the cross border, so
Mr. Boehm was not in the.
Maybe
top
this should be like the All-Star game. Maybe the people should vote. I'm not going to win that vote, but
the campaign. Actually, you do. I think is it
you probably
Ian,
would win that vote.
Top of my head, you do. As soon as we put up the posting coming out of the last weekend about who had qualified, right away is the Doug Boehm push to get the wild card. So don't you worry. There is a groundswell, my friend. There is a groundswell. So we've
Look at the
got
campaign.
we've got some folks in the chat going after my friend Sean Green, and I quite resent it.
Good
But,
friends.
well, yes, good friends. So that's where we sit. We finish the Continental Cup, and it literally all starts churning again in a few weeks. At the Buckeye is the first Q school. So as a player, if you want to get out there and compete, look out. We'll have news on all of that soon. You get out, compete for a Q school. Then we get the season started behind the scenes over the next 2 months. It'll be Players Council and me and Peter meeting and me and my partners and where are we going and the dates and all of that good stuff. And we just get the machine rolling and rolling and rolling again. And it all gets underway. And we're blessed to be going into year 11 of the championship dart circuit. So we're going to close. Exactly. We're going to close out in a minute. Let Doug and Sean get out of here. But first, we've got some news that hit on the U.S. Masters. We've got some ticket dates there. So let me get to my little script. The U.S. Darts Masters returns to Madison Square Garden June 27th and 28th. Get first access to the best seats. Tickets go on sale December 5th for PDC priority members and December 6th to the general public. Sign up now for priority access at pdc.tv/tickets. All right. So obviously take note of a date change a little later in June. So, but as these two guys on with me will tell you, it is a can't miss proposition. Whether you're in the crowd like schmucks like Sean and I are, or on stage like the great Doug Boehm, you know, Madison Square Garden, the theater is just definitely not to be missed. So you can get there, sign up for priority, you can get general sale, and we'll see you in New York. All right. So let's do we have any outstanding questions? I'll ask my production squad, or have we finished? All right. They're telling me we're out of questions, which is great. I appreciate everybody that's participated tonight. Let's close out with anything from Sean. Do you want to, you know, cap on and thank anybody for this season and the cup?
Yeah, of course. I always want to thank, first and foremost, the principals of the CDC for continuing to give a darts fan from Indiana an opportunity to use my voice on broadcasts and be a small member of the team. It's honestly, it's the greatest company to work for. I am excited for next year and for everything I get to do. I want to thank all the players for playing. I do walk around and thank everyone for being there and playing. And I think a lot of players look at me like, why are you doing that? Without them, none of this happens. So truly a testament to them and their drive to be better and to continue to improve this game, not just for themselves, but also for North America darts is really awesome to see. I cannot be remiss without shouting out the production team that puts all this together and does so without interference at all. KJ, of course, Jeff McMahon, all of you guys who put together the productions. It's amazing. It's just, I'm blessed. I have the greatest role in darts that I could possibly imagine, being a terrible dart player. So thank you guys so much for all of that. It really is awesome. And hopefully I'm back next year, and I hope you guys want me back next year. That's exciting stuff. So thank you for everything. The opportunities to interview and all of that has been very special this year. So thank you.
You're very welcome, Sean. Thanks for everything this year. Thanks for joining us tonight. And of course, thank you so much to Doug Boehm for joining us tonight. So let's go back to Doug for a second, just to, if you want to, thank anybody, thank your sponsors, and of course, let people know how they can get their hands on a Boehm bag.
Yeah, I mean, you see it right there. It's available at DJD, thedjd.com. The beautiful jersey from the Continental Cup is also available at the djd.com. There we go, with the Dayman jersey. I don't know if there's a package deal. Maybe we can get David to throw something in, but honestly, being with DJD has been excellent. The jerseys are great, and David is an amazing person in the world of darts and helping everybody out, and the team and the group that I'm a part of. It makes it a lot easier to travel around. I'm traveling for work, I'm traveling for darts, and my wife is at home with the kids, and I appreciate everything that she does to make that possible for me as well. She gets to come to some of the things like the Continental Cup and hopefully the Cross Border Challenge So those are her times to have fun with everybody else that we get to experience, the friendships and stuff. And it's just, it's something I would never expected when I picked up a dart and started hawking it at a soft tip board back in the bars in college.
Sorry, I need to interject here real quick. Thanks a lot, Doug. I would also like to thank my wife, who stays home with my kids as well. I want to make sure that I'm also a good husband, and it doesn't just fall on Doug's responsibility to be it. Thank you, Doug, for the reminder that I'm first and foremost a husband and a father, and I can't thank them enough for allowing me to travel and do that. Without them saying yes, it doesn't happen at all. So. Now it's your turn.
He doesn't stop talking about you, Megan. When we're on the road, he doesn't stop talking about you at all.
Oh, is it my turn now, Sean Green? So for a guy who can't pass up a good joke. Thanks, guys. I'm newly divorced. I have no wife to thank. Boom. We'll let that sit in the air for 10 seconds.
Let's do it.
So. To close out, we can't forget our Darts Around the World segment, all right? Congratulations to Mike DeDecker, picked up the PDC Grand Prix just last week, right? This weekend, the European Tour Championship is going on, so check out PDC TV for that. Of course, we move into the Grand Slam and the Players' Championship and the World Championship. So lots going on around the world in darts, okay? Yes, Mr. Boehm.
I actually have something to add to Darts Around the World. My former teammate in Shanghai, who now plays in Hong Kong and has represented Hong Kong on the World Cup stage, just qualified at the Asian finals to be at the Ali Pali this year, which is amazing.
Is that Hugo?
I started playing with him. No, it's Matthew Lee.
Oh, cool.
I started playing, I think he was like 14 or 15 years old when I started playing with him in Shanghai. His mom would go to the events to the bar for league night, and took him under my wing and trained him. And I think he owes me probably a lot for that.
So he's going to be at Ali Pali maybe before you get there?
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yep.
He better pay for a ticket or something to get you there. It's the least you can do
He'll
him being your
he'll
protege.
give me in the players' room.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Thank you very much for Sean and Doug for joining us. Thank you for all the players and everybody that participated on the 2024 Championship Dart Circuit. The fans came out to the special events. Everybody that followed on social media, we really appreciate it. The season may be over, but Shooting the Bull is not. We're going to come back with episode number 10, Thursday, November 24th. We've got a couple of fun and interesting topics brewing, so we'll see you next month. On behalf of the entire crew, it's Anthony Eugenia signing off, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for joining us for Shootin' the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Dart Circuit. Subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode, and follow us at Champ Darts on social media to keep up with all of the latest news on North American darts.